actually worked with Tom Holland when I did this movie called The Lost City of Z years ago. I think he hadn't even been cast as Spider-Man, and he was wearing a Spider-Man outfit when I was shooting that movie.
What kind of superhero would I want to play? Maybe Spider-Man in like 10 years' time.
What the f***?
Is Tom Holland really lucky? Looking at his life today, it's hard not to think so. Almost every dream he ever spoke about somehow became reality. He became the superhero he dreamed of playing, starred in the movie inspired by his favorite video game, worked alongside actors he once admired, shared the screen with all three Spider-Men, and even found himself standing beside the woman he once called his celebrity crush. It almost sounds too perfect to be true, but if you only look at the ending, you'll miss the story that made all of it possible. So before we decide whether Tom Holland is really lucky, let's go back to where it all began. It all began on June 1st, 1996, in Kingston-upon-Thames, England, when Thomas Stanley Holland was born. Right from the start, Tom had a unique battle to fight. At just 7 years old, he was diagnosed with dyslexia, a learning difference that mainly affects reading, writing, and spelling. For someone with dyslexia, words on a page can sometimes feel like they're constantly moving around, making even simple reading tasks much more challenging. For most kids, that would be a huge obstacle in school, but for Tom, it simply meant finding a different way to learn. Even today, Tom has spoken about needing to spend extra time memorizing scripts because of his dyslexia. Instead of letting it define him, he learned to adapt, work harder, and prove that a learning difference doesn't have to limit your dreams. Fortunately, creativity was practically running through his veins. His mother, Nikki Frost, is a professional photographer, while his father, Dominic Holland, is a successful stand-up comedian, author, and broadcaster. So while Tom may have struggled with spelling tests, he grew up in a home where creativity, storytelling, and performing were simply part of everyday life. But despite all those challenges, something happened when Tom was just 9 years old that completely changed the direction of his life. Tom discovered his biggest passion, hip-hop dancing. He wasn't dancing because he wanted to become famous. He simply loved it. It gave him a way to express himself, burn off all that energy, and most importantly, have fun. Little did he know that one hobby was about to change his life forever.
I'm Tom Holland and I play Billy in Billy Elliot the Musical. It all started, I used to go to a street dance club and we did a show in White Lodge, the ballet school. And the headmaster, he spotted me. He was like, we wanted to audition for Billy Elliot, and I was like, oh, fair dues. So, okay, I'll go for it. And then that's pretty much how it started.
But it was only the beginning, because earning the lead role wasn't as simple as showing up and dancing. It meant starting one of the toughest training periods of his young life. See, Tom was a hip-hop kid, but Billy Elliot requires elite world-class ballet and intense acrobatics. So, Tom had to completely reinvent himself. He started taking grueling gymnastics classes and classical ballet lessons. Imagine a 10-year-old kid pulling off insane flips and stretching on a ballet bar for hours every single day. He didn't know it yet, but those exact painful gymnastics classes were secretly building the precise, gravity-defying superhero toolkit he would use to audition for Marvel years later. Talk about an accidental master plan. After 2 long years of endless training and 8 separate auditions, Tom finally did it. He won the main, coveted lead role of Billy Elliot. He was a theater star, but if you think his life became a glamorous, easy Hollywood fairy tale, think again. After his time on the West End ended, reality hit hard. Rejection became Tom's new best friend. He would go to audition after audition for movies and TV shows, only to be told no over and over again. Trying to balance a normal high school education with the brutal entertainment industry was exhausting. And to make things worse, he was a teenage boy who did ballet. Kids at his school didn't see him as a West End star. They just saw an easy target. He was severely bullied and even called a sissy just for knowing how to dance. But Tom didn't let the name-calling stop him. He kept his head down, channeled all that frustration into his work, and kept grinding. That brings us to 2012, when Tom booked his first major movie, The Impossible. He played Lucas, a young boy fighting to survive with his family during the devastating 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. For a 16-year-old kid with 0 on-camera movie experience, his acting was absolutely gripping. He didn't just stand there. He easily carried the emotional weight of the entire film. Hollywood immediately took notice, and he walked away with major breakthrough awards, including the National Board of Review Award. Suddenly, Tom went from being a bullied dance student to a serious actor. He quickly booked a role in The Heart of the Sea in 2015 alongside Chris Hemsworth. But right around this time, during a random press junket, Tom said something that would trigger the most insane manifestation streak in Hollywood history. An interviewer asked him what kind of superhero he'd want to play if he ever got the chance.
What kind of superhero would I want to play? Maybe Spider-Man in like 10 years' time.
Get ready for the reboot of the reboot?
The reboot of the reboot, if they made one.
Spoiler alert, it didn't take 10 years. It took less than 3. When Marvel announced they were looking for a new Peter Parker, a staggering 1,500 actors auditioned for the role. But remember those childhood gymnastics classes Tom got bullied for? This is where they became his ultimate cheat code. During his final screen test with Robert Downey Jr., the script called for Spider-Man to flip into the frame. While every other actor probably thought about using a stunt double, Tom literally asked the directors, "Should I do a backflip right now?" He executed a perfect, flawless flip directly in front of Iron Man. He beat out 1,500 people because he already had the physical toolkit ready. But Spider-Man was just the gateway drug for Tom's psychic interview predictions. Let's look at the rest of the manifestation receipts. During an early interview, Tom was asked who his first ever celebrity crush was. Without missing a beat, he admitted it was Zendaya.
Who was your first ever celebrity crush?
Zendaya.
At the time, it was just another casual interview answer that nobody thought much about. But a few years later, Marvel cast Zendaya as MJ in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Their on-screen chemistry quickly turned into a real-life relationship, and years later, the two officially got married. He went from talking about his celebrity crush in an interview to spending the rest of his life with her. While doing promo work, Tom was caught on camera gaming and casually told everyone,
My favorite video game is this little game called Uncharted. That's my favorite game.
Fast forward to 2022, Sony Pictures pours $120 million into a live-action adaptation of that exact game. And who do they cast as the legendary main character? Tom Holland. He literally got paid millions to live out his favorite PlayStation game. When asked in another old interview which 3 actors, alive or dead, he would choose to work with if he had a magic wand, he explicitly named Jake Gyllenhaal.
If you could be in a movie with any 3 actors, alive or dead, who would you pick? Jake Gyllenhaal.
Find somebody that looks at you the way Jake Gyllenhaal is looking at Tom Holland.
Marvel turns around and casts Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio in Spider-Man: Far From Home. The two didn't just share massive screen time, they became absolute real-life best friends who constantly crashed each other's interviews.
Little hands! I'm so strong! Except for my little hands! Yeah!
Perhaps the most illegal prediction of all happened when Tom casually joked to an interviewer.
Any chance there's a multiverse in which Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and then your Spider-Man all meet together?
Clashing?
That'd be dope.
And then you can sort of just say that everyone just comes from a different universe.
The thing about this film that's so exciting, right, is we take Spider-Man to Europe, and what's so cool about that is we've never seen Spider-Man in Europe before. No, of course I'd love to make a movie with those guys. It would be so cool.
At the time, studio rights made this a literal impossibility. Yet, in 2021, Spider-Man: No Way Home hit theaters, uniting all 3 live-action Spider-Men in the biggest cinematic event of the decade. He literally guessed the plot of his biggest movie years before it was even written. So, we finally return to our ultimate question. Is Tom Holland really just incredibly lucky? To an extent, yes. To have your casual interview comments align perfectly with multi-million-dollar studio casting decisions requires an almost impossible amount of cosmic good fortune. But as the old saying goes, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity. Tom Holland didn't just sit in his room wishing for a Marvel contract. He spent his childhood bleeding on ballet ballets, pushing through dyslexia, taking gymnastics classes while being bullied and facing relentless rejections. He didn't just manifest his career. Tom Holland worked hard enough to make his luck absolutely inevitable.